Hey guys, today we're going to be doing the AuthorTube 2.0 tag, and I also have a Creators Matter update. I also want to thank all of my new subscribers and welcome them aboard. Let's move right along. I'm Robert Jones, and you're watching The Story Detective. Let's begin with the Creators Matter update. I've seen several tags doing that already, and some people are using the hashtag, which I think is great. If you don't know what Creators Matter is, it's my answer to the creators being taken advantage of, getting charged too much for services, and also banding together, having an adjunct to their own group, whether it's AuthorTube or MusicTube or any of the tubes. If we have a place where we can gather and unite, strength is in numbers. And if you want to know more about it, just watch my video on Creators Matter, and maybe you'll be inspired to do your own tag. I will put the link down below. So I've gone over the questions by Jenna. If you haven't seen her video for AuthorTube 2.0, I suggest you go watch that. This is a response to that and my official entry video into AuthorTube. As I said in my previous video, if you want to make a change, you have to get involved. And I think there's a lot of potential in this community, and I have the questions and answers written down here, so I'll be kind of reading. If I'm not looking at the camera, since I wrote everything out, I'll just read from here and ad-lib as to whatever is necessary. Question number 1. What's your book's pitch? I don't pitch my concepts publicly. Concepts are not copyrightable. Others only have to make minor changes and do their own spin on your ideas, and you can't do anything about it. I did come up with a pitch here. I decided to do a pitch that would be familiar to everybody. I did the Avengers Endgame if the movie were entirely from Thanos' perspective. In order to save the inhabitants of Earth from their own inevitable destruction, Thanos' quest has spanned the multiverse in order to find the fabled Infinity Stones, revered to bestow the abilities of a god upon anyone possessing them. His quest fulfilled, Thanos has fashioned the stones into a gauntlet of cosmic power. But can he truly save mankind by destroying half the populace to fulfill his own personal destiny? If I had time, I would actually shorten this a little bit. Ideally, if you could fit this into one sentence, great. If not, take 2, but try to keep it within 30 seconds is the idea. Question number 2. If you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? Robert Jones, once a highly respected creator in the field of comic books, found the industry was shrinking, as many markets have, and making a choice, decided to strike out on his own and write the novels he's always wanted to write. Can he reboot himself and succeed in his new endeavors? Tune into the Story Detective channel and find out. Question number 3. What do you usually write? I write a little bit of everything. I love all the genres, and all for different reasons. My current projects are mystery, sci-fi, and literary fiction with a fantasy twist. What's something you'll never write? At one point, much like Jenna, I would have said a Western. But looking into history, there's a lot of stuff in the Wild West, like any other period, that's fraught with biases, conflict, and humans doing horrendous shit to one another. So I think it's sort of like that old saying, there's no such thing as boring characters, only boring writers. I think the same thing goes with genres. There's no such thing as a boring story. It's kind of our take on it. Does that mean that Westerns are high on my list of things I want to write? No, they're still down there, but if the right idea came along. 5. What's your goal for starting an AuthorTube channel? If I were going to start a platform where I was forced to stretch myself, getting in front of a camera would be it. It's a very different medium, a different form of storytelling, and so contrary to everything else I do. I knew there was a good chance I would fall flat, but I would learn something from the experience. Ultimately, if it worked, I just wanted a venue to talk about the writing process and share what I've learned while also learning from others. 6. What made you want to start writing? I saw a Spider-Man cartoon on TV when I was 2. Before my parents even bought my first action figures, I was folding paper into strips, drawing crude faces of Spider-Man and Batman on them, and creating my own adventures. 7. What is your publishing path? I'm probably going to give self-publishing a try with my current projects. Number 8. What content do you bring to the AuthorTube table? Aside from craft knowledge, there's also experience of my own endeavors, as well as the stories and teachings from many other creators I've met and worked with along the way. Some who were my teachers and mentors, others who inspired and even even some who fail, because everything is relevant in the process of our learning. 9. What's your biggest writing struggle? I think all of writing can become a struggle depending on what day you come to it, what your attitude is. Some days are just better and some days are worse. But I think if I had to pick one, it would be beginnings. Beginning sentences, paragraphs, those first pages. There's so much emphasis put on getting those pages right that to me, that's what I sweat over the most. Number 10. What's your best writing skill? From early on, I had it drilled into my head to be as broad as possible creatively. If I had to pick one that came easily, it would be plotting, because I've always had a lot of ideas. At first, it was a curse because my writing went off on so many tangents. But the more I learned to hone my ideas and not allow them to scatter. Knowledge is power, and the more you know, the better you can balance your strengths and weaknesses. Now, this, when I first started out, as a creator, I was pretty much like a lot of other people. I was that high tension wire just spitting all my ideas into the wind. Don't come too close or I'll burn you, because I've had a lot of people say, don't do this. When you first start creating, everybody is an expert and they tell you what to do with it, so you become very defensive. And when I went to, it might have been a convention or it might have been an interview with Chris Claremont, who was an early X-Men writer back when the Dark Phoenix story actually was in print. And Chris Claremont said something that was a real eye-opener for me. He said, it doesn't matter what you think of other creators. If they're being published and you're not, they have some kind of knowledge that you don't have. And we should all develop voracious appetites to absorb everything and find out information from everybody, whether we like them or not. Because there is no one magic bullet that's going to make you a better writer or a better creator on any level. Rather, it's like taking little pieces from everything that you examine, and eventually those pieces become not so much your magic pill, but your magic stew when you put them all together. And that's a process, and that process happens by everyone you meet, everything you read, everybody else's ideas that go into your head, and they gestate in that big compost pile, and suddenly you find yourself and you develop your own philosophy. The next one is choose between questions 11 and 12. I chose 11. If you've been on AuthorTube for a while, what's your best AuthorTube tip? I've been here for a little while, so I would say my best tip is don't be afraid to let yourself shine. Be original, display your creativity, and use your channel as a way to show your audience, your future readers, that you have an imagination or a personality. And always remember to give something back to the community. Question number 13. Are you looking for new channels to follow, betas, CPs, or other types of writer buddies? The answer is yes. I'm always looking for new channels to follow, and as far as people who've subscribed to my channel and commented lately, just last night I spent time online with a new AuthorTuber that I just met through the comments on my recent videos, Ellie Vera, who is relatively new to AuthorTube and also a friend of hers who's a blogger. And we did writing sprints, and between the sprints we chatted a little bit. That was my first time doing that with other AuthorTubers, and I thought that was a lot of fun and would definitely like to do more of it. And finally, question 14, what are you most excited about during this new fresh start for AuthorTube? What's not to be excited about? The possibilities here are endless. If we put our imaginations together and support one another, sharing one another's journey, that can be huge. I remember when the first of my creative group at art school got his first professional job. There was an array of emotions from glad tidings to jealousy, and yet it taught me so much. It taught me we really are one another's success stories, because this wasn't a famous person we were looking at. It was just one of the guys from our group. And though our skill levels varied, we all had our strengths in different areas, but this was now a reality, because if he could do it, it meant we could as well. And within 2 months, I landed my own first job as a pro, because now I had a certain confidence. I could see it as a reality rather than just a dream. And this confidence factor, that mental leap, is a big part of most professional creators that I've talked to over the years. So make friends, support one another, be glad for the diverse skills of your peers, learn from one another, be happy when that first person breaks out of the pack, because they've just shown you it's all possible. And jealousy, to some degree, is natural. Just like there's good anger and healthy anger and not so healthy anger, because sometimes you can actually use it to fuel you. A little jealousy could be used to fuel you too, but use it productively. Don't use it to tear anybody else down. And I think if you can do that and honestly be glad for the person who is ahead of you, whether it's somebody that you like or don't like, they've got something going going on. They've done something right. Look at what they've done right. Remember what Chris Claremont said, and be glad for them. So that's what I've got for you today. I see there's a lot of people doing the AuthorTube 2.0 tags already, and I think that's great. I'm looking at new people's channels every day lately. I hope you'll also look at the Creators Matter tag and check out my channel over at Story Detective. And until next time, keep those keyboards clacking.